I was on the couch, half watching a rerun of some sitcom I didn't even like, scrolling mindlessly through my phone, when my wife walked into the living room with that look. You know the one. A mix of determination and hesitation, like she'd been rehearsing a speech in her head but wasn't sure if she'd nailed the delivery yet. I muted the TV and glanced up. "We need to talk," she said, folding her arms. I immediately sat up. Everyone knows nothing good comes after those four words. "Okay," I said cautiously, trying to read her face. She stood there for a moment, gathering courage. Then, out of nowhere, she said, "I think we should try a sexless marriage." At first I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I was convinced she was joking. "What is this, a request for divorce?" I chuckled nervously, but she wasn't joking. Her expression didn't change. If anything, it hardened. "I'm serious," she said. "I've been thinking a lot about this, and I believe it could make us stronger as a couple. Sex isn't everything, and I feel like it's holding us back from truly connecting on a deeper level." I was stunned, speechless even. Who was this person standing in front of me? This wasn't the woman I married, the woman I shared late-night laughs with, the woman I loved. My stomach twisted as I tried to make sense of what I was hearing. Wait, I stammered. "Where is this coming from? Are you unhappy? Did I do something wrong?" She sighed, exasperated, as if she had anticipated these questions and already decided they were beneath her. "No, it's not about that. I've been reading a lot, listening to podcasts, watching these incredible women online who talk about reclaiming their identities, about how intimacy can sometimes be a crutch for deeper issues in a relationship. Podcasts, influencers, online advice." My head spun. "So what? You read a couple of blog posts and decided our marriage is broken?" I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. "That's not what I'm saying," she shot back. "I'm saying we could try something new, something that challenges us to grow." I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. "No sex," I repeated, more to myself than to her, as if saying it aloud would help me understand. "In what universe does that strengthen a marriage?" She crossed her arms. "You're being narrow-minded. It's not about never having sex again. It's about taking it off the table for a while and focusing on us as individuals, as partners." Partners. What kind of partnership doesn't include intimacy? It was like she was speaking a foreign language and I couldn't find a translator. "You can't just spring this on me like it's some harmless experiment," I said. "We're not a couple of college kids trying out a weird new diet. This is our marriage we're talking about." She sat down across from me, her posture calm but her eyes blazing. "Exactly. It's our marriage, and I'm saying we need to think about what's truly important. This isn't about rejecting you or punishing you. It's about figuring out who we are without relying on physical connection as a crutch." Crutch. That word hit me harder than it should have. I didn't see our intimacy as a crutch. I saw it as love, as connection, as the glue that held us together when life got messy. Without it, what were we? Two roommates splitting the bills? I couldn't hold it in any longer. "Do you even hear yourself? Because from where I'm sitting, this sounds insane." Her face fell, but she quickly masked it with a veneer of righteousness. "You're not even willing to consider it?" she asked softly, almost like she pitied me. "No, I'm not," I fired back. "Because what you're asking for, that's not a marriage, at least not one I signed up for." We sat there in silence, the tension so thick you could have sliced it with a knife. She looked at me like she was waiting for some grand epiphany to strike, like I'd suddenly see the brilliance of her plan and fall at her feet in gratitude. But all I could feel was confusion, frustration, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about sex. This was about something bigger, something that had been brewing beneath the surface of our relationship for who knows how long, and I had no idea how to fix it. The days following that conversation were surreal. I kept waiting for things to go back to normal, for her to sit down, laugh it off, and admit the whole thing was just a bad idea she'd gotten from some overhyped influencer. But that didn't happen. Instead, it felt like I was living with a stranger. At first, it was subtle. She started spending more time on her phone, earbuds constantly in, listening to podcasts or watching videos that I could only assume were feeding this sexless marriage ideology. I'd catch snippets of motivational speeches or self-help mantras if I walked past her. The value of a woman doesn't lie in her ability to please a man, I heard one day as I came into the kitchen. She quickly paused it, like a teenager hiding something from their parents. Interesting stuff, I asked, trying to sound casual. She shrugged. Just some things I've been thinking about. That shrug, it wasn't like her. She used to be an open book, eager to share every thought, every idea, even if it was half-formed. Now, she was guarded, distant. Then there were the changes in her routine. She started dressing differently. Not that I had an issue with that, but it was noticeable. Gone were the simple, cozy outfits she used to wear around the house. Instead, she'd put on polished, business-like attire, even when she wasn't going anywhere. "You look nice," I commented one morning. "Thanks," she replied without much emotion, brushing past me to grab her bag. "Do you have a meeting?" "Or something?" I asked. "No," she said curtly, and left it at that. It wasn't just the way she looked. It was her whole demeanor. The warmth I used to associate with her had been replaced by this air of detachment, almost like she was deliberately putting up walls. The turning point came a week later. She sat down next to me and handed me her phone. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a post. It was from some influencer I'd never heard of. The post was a long caption about how intimacy wasn't necessary for a fulfilling relationship and how removing it allowed for spiritual growth. "What do you think?" she asked, her eyes expectant. I stared at her, dumbfounded. "What do I think?" I repeated. "I think this woman doesn't know us. She doesn't know what we've been through, what we mean to each other. How could this possibly apply to us?" "It's not about her," she said, almost impatiently. "It's about the idea. Don't you think there's truth in it?" "No," I said bluntly. "I think it's a load of crap." She sighed, clearly disappointed. That was when I realized she wasn't just changing, she was already gone. At first I thought I was overreacting, but deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that the woman I had married was slipping further and further away, and I had no idea how to stop it. The breaking point came one night after dinner. It started with something small. She asked if I could do the dishes while she caught up with her online group. Normally, I wouldn't have thought twice about it, but this time, something in me snapped. "Sure," I said, my tone flat. "While you go lock yourself in the office and talk to people who seem to know more about you than I do." She froze, her plate in hand, and turned to face me. "What's that supposed to mean?" I put down the glass I was drying, frustration boiling over. "It means you've been shutting me out. You spend all your time on your phone, talking to strangers, listening to these ridiculous ideas. And then you have the audacity to tell me we should just stop being intimate like it's some genius life hack. Do you even hear how insane that sounds?" Her face flushed red, not with embarrassment, but with anger. "I'm not shutting you out. I've been trying to talk to you about this for weeks, but every time I do, you dismiss me. You call it insane. You make me feel like I'm the crazy one for wanting more out of this marriage than just..." "Just what?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "Just what we've built together? Just the connection that makes us more than roommates? Is that what's so disposable to you now?" Her eyes narrowed. "You're not listening to me. I'm saying that intimacy doesn't have to define us. It's not the only way we can connect." "And who told you that? One of your influencers? Aria, maybe?" I shot back, the name slipping out before I could stop myself. Her mouth fell open slightly, and for a moment, there was silence. Then her voice dropped, cold and controlled. You went through my messages. I didn't deny it. Yeah, I did. Because I don't recognize you anymore, and I'm trying to figure out who the hell I'm even married to. You violated my privacy, she said, her voice trembling. And you violated our marriage the moment you decided some stranger online had better advice about our relationship than I do. At that, the argument exploded. We yelled over each other, accusations flying back and forth. She called me controlling and insecure. I called her brainwashed and selfish. Every unresolved issue, every buried resentment came flooding to the surface. I gave everything to this marriage, she shouted at one point, her voice breaking. Everything! And now, the one time I try to take something back for myself, you can't handle it? Take something back? I shot back. What exactly are you taking back? Because it feels like you're throwing away everything we built. The fight dragged on, spilling from the kitchen to the bedroom, then back to the living room. It wasn't just about intimacy anymore. It was about trust, about identity, about who we had become as individuals and as a couple. At one point, I asked her the question I had been too afraid to voice until then. Are you seeing someone else? She stared at me, her face a mix of shock and fury. How dare you? She hissed. How dare you accuse me of that? Is that really what you think of me? What else am I supposed to think? I threw up my hands. You won't talk to me. You spend all your time with these people online, and you suddenly decide you don't want a physical relationship anymore? How am I supposed to take that? Her response was quiet, but venomous. I thought you knew me better than that. The argument ended abruptly after that. She grabbed her phone and retreated to the office, slamming the door behind her. I stood in the living room, surrounded by the debris of our fight, the dishes I hadn't finished, the blanket she had tossed aside, the tension hanging in the air like smoke after a fire. I sat down on the couch, my head in my hands, trying to process everything. We were at a breaking point, and I didn't know if we could come back from it. For days, we barely spoke, exchanging only the absolute necessities. The trash needs to go out. I'm heading to bed. There's food in the fridge. It felt like living with the ghost of the person I had loved for years. But I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. One evening, I decided to break the stalemate. She was sitting at the kitchen table, earbuds in, scrolling through her phone. I sat across from her and cleared my throat. She looked up, visibly annoyed, but took out one earbud. I want to try counseling, I said plainly. Her eyebrows shot up. Counseling? Yes, I said. If this marriage is going to work, we need help. Someone neutral. Someone who can help us figure this out because we're not doing a great job on our own. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. You think a stranger is going to fix us? Maybe, I replied. Maybe not, but it's better than sitting here pretending everything's fine or waiting for another fight to blow up. She was quiet for a moment, then sighed. I don't think I need counseling, she said carefully, like she was stepping around a landmine. I felt my frustration flare, but I held it back. You might not think you do, but I do. This isn't just about you. It's about us. And right now, I don't think either of us is okay. She stared at me, her face unreadable. Finally, she said, I'll think about it. That was as much of a victory as I was going to get, and I clung to it. The next morning, I found a therapist who specialized in couples and scheduled a session. When I told her about the appointment that evening, she didn't say much, just nodded and agreed to go. But as the weeks went on, it became clear we weren't on the same page. She attended the sessions, but her heart wasn't in it. She talked a lot about her personal growth, her journey, but rarely about us. Every time I tried to bring up our connection, our future, she deflected. One night, after a session, I confronted her. Do you even want this to work? She hesitated for just a second too long. I don't know, she admitted. I think I do, but I can't make any promises. That answer was like a dagger to the chest. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in weeks. I couldn't keep living in limbo. That evening, I sat across from her again. We need to talk, I said. She looked up warily. About what? About us. About where this is going. Because I can't do this anymore. She was silent for a long moment before finally whispering, maybe we should separate. And just like that, it was over. No dramatic declarations, no begging or pleading. Just the quiet acknowledgement that whatever we had was gone. And for the first time in months, I could finally breathe.